Okay, it says we're live. And also, very excited. Look, the music bot works. It's actually telling us what song is playing. How exciting is that? Didn't really do anything too much different. I logged in to mix it up today and it worked. So, very happy to have that back online. Welcome back to yet another Moonshire Monday. Still have not missed a single one since we started. Thank you so much for being here. This is going to be maybe a shorter one. We'll see. I might go for the full 2 hours, but today I don't have my mods here, so it's just going to be us, and we're going to chill out, and it's going to be a good time. But I'm going to give it a few more minutes just for the chat and the stream to catch up. I know that it takes a few minutes or a few seconds for that to really wind up, but today I'm going to be working on level design stuff and filling in some details and some decorations and stuff. Really, I'm just trying to make the game look more filled in. And I spent so much time reworking all these maps. It's hard to see, but I changed the names of all the maps to be more what is it, understandable. Like they have meaningful names now. Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces in chat. I see Ebuos, Angelo, Napster, Script Note. Thank you so much for being here today. I really do appreciate that. And like I was saying, I'm also happy that the music bot is fixed. I've been wanting that to be fixed for quite a while. Really, I need a much better way to read chat because there's a bit of a delay between what I see and what the YouTube display is showing. But thank you so much for being here. Ruben, Kian, PH Dev, Karavi, Musical Keys, Just a Dot. Thank you again. I think today I'm going to start by putting in some details. So I redid this map yet again, where I have this alcove up at the top, and then the bottom section is sort of like a tutorial section that you walk through, and this is where the first fight is going to be. So today I'm going to be putting in like a lot of the details and filling all this stuff in, because once the map is really finished, it looks more like this, where it has tons of objects and details and lots more stuff is going on. Francisco, Future 34, Cacti Crown, thank you so much for being here yet again. How am I doing? I'm doing good. Thank you so much for asking. Doing pretty good today, and I'm happy that my music bot is telling us what songs are playing. Also, you can see my little audience right here. We got Makar, we got Bowser, we got Gyarados, a Warp Pipe, looking pretty good today. I decided to move. Normally I have my TV here, but I took it off because it's too dark of a background. I wanted more of a light background for contrast with my hair and stuff. So I tried to go with something a little bit different. This is some crazy Oros music. Yeah, this is an original piece specifically for Oros. It plays when you're flying on Latias or Latios's back. How is Nightbot? Oh, let's see. I didn't log in, so maybe do I need to do that every time? It says Nightbot online, so actually I think that it's actively doing it right now. We didn't make any adjustments though, so we're just gonna have to see. Am I planning to put these games on Twitch? Well, I mean, I'm not planning to stream on Twitch, but these games are gonna be playable on Steam, so people on Twitch are gonna be able to play them. So I'm hoping that the game picks up enough Steam and stuff. Someone asked if this is a Godot engine. No, this is Lua, but this is a tile map editor called Tiled, and the engine I'm using is called Love2D. I'm probably gonna have to answer that more times than normal this chat or this stream because Wolf's not here to step in and do that, but no big deal. Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining from Zambia. Thank you. That's so cool. In actually working on my programming language C++, very similar to Lua. Yeah, cool. C++ is a little bit harder actually because C++ has some trickiness to it where you have strong typing and you have references and pointers. That's the biggest one. So C++, you have to worry about data management and where your pointers are pointing to and what data is stored there. It's definitely more complex than Lua is, but once you get C++ grasped and you understand it, you will have a very strong understanding of pretty much any language after that because it's one of the harder ones. So that's really cool. Good to see you, Chalicade. Oh, Jaggy Man, hi. Yeah, that is one thing about YouTube streams is that the display names sometimes it's just like your actual name. I had to actually go in and change my YouTube account to say Chalicade rather than Kyle Schaub. It doesn't automatically manage memory, but it's very powerful. I mean, that's the thing is that it's so powerful that it can run basically anywhere. That's the big appeal. And a lot of the fundamentals that other languages use are kind of based off of C++. Okay, so terrain, I'm going to be adding these little grass pieces. Whoop. And that'll probably be something like this, and then I'll click the randomize button. So I'm just going to go through and like paste in these little texture pieces. Try to get a little bit of variety. But the challenge is that most of the tiles aren't full size. I have to go in and like fine detail place these later on. Also, you know, I think I'm gonna redo all this because I want to grab in the smaller pieces too. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting multiple tiles. I'm selecting all these tiles at once. And when you have the random button selected, it's going to randomly pick one of those tiles, which is nice because I can put in a bunch of variety like this without needing to manually click on each individual tile to get those that variety. Nice to meet me from Egypt. Very cool. I finished Deltarune Chapter 4. Yep, I did finish it. I finished it, and I added some music from the soundtrack to my playlist. So hopefully we get some of that. Overall, I liked Chapter 3 and 4 a lot. I thought it was good. But I would say I preferred Chapters 1 and 2 a little bit more. I don't know if it's just because I've changed or the writing style has changed, but personally speaking, the writing didn't mesh with me quite right. A lot of the jokes fell flat for me. Again, I need to specifically say that because I can understand why Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4 might be someone's like personal favorite game, because genuinely there are some amazing moments. But when I'm like reading the dialogue and what everyone is saying, sometimes it just didn't really land for me. Chapter 4, dude, I'm missing out. I mean, it's worth playing, definitely. That is one thing about Chapters 3 and 4 is that they're the first chapters that are paywalled. I don't have a problem with that. I think that all the chapters should have been, but when you have a free game, it opens up your audience quite a bit more. And we're definitely seeing that with Chapter 3 and 4. Hello from Germany. Hi, welcome. Chapter 4 of Deltarune, sorry. Yeah, so when the Switch 2 launched, that was also the launch of Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4. And Deltarune has been in development for quite a while, actually. I think that Chapter 1 came out in 2018? Let me fact check that. Deltarune Chapter 1 release date. It was 2018. October 31st, 2018. I was right. So that's 7 years of development since the first one. And what I'm getting at is that I think that my personal tastes have kind of shifted and changed since then, where, you know, maybe the sense of humor doesn't vibe with me quite right, or certain aspects of the gameplay. I'm a little bit pickier now compared to 7 years ago. Like, that's a long time. Is it a true sequel to the first Undertale? I would say, like, it is a sequel for sure, but if you didn't play Undertale, you really wouldn't be missing very much. There's some returning characters, there's a lot of returning themes and returning music, lots of references, so if you play Undertale, you'll enjoy the game a lot more. That's for sure. But you definitely don't need to play Undertale. There's not nearly, like, it doesn't tie in super tightly where you need to play Undertale. If you play Undertale, you'll get context, but they are definitely separate games. I think as a complete experience, Undertale is better, just because it is a complete experience. Deltarune's not even finished yet. But I'm glad I played Deltarune as it came out, because all of the hype around each chapter as they came out was really fun. You only know Scratch? Well, Scratch can make games, and you can learn the fundamentals with Scratch, and once you get like a grasp of game development with one language, like Scratch or any of them, it's really easy to transfer to other things. So it's never wasted time. Hopefully what I'm doing here is making sense. Again, all I'm doing is changing it from a flat green background and just putting in some speckles. And then after I do this first pass, I'm going to go through and do like the really tight corners, because that's where the trickiness comes in. Like, trying to put one of these here is problematic because, look, there's like some bleed over into the dirt. So right now I'm kind of just doing the bigger pieces that can fit anywhere. And then I'll need to Specific stuff. Super fun. I started with Scratch, actually. Yeah, I agree. Scratch is a good one. I started with Game Maker, which is pretty similar. It's like a drag and drop sort of coding scheme. I think that's a really nice way to pick up on the fundamentals. I think before I do the upper part, I should put on some more texture. Also, be sure to let me know if the music ever sounds too loud or too quiet. But I spent some time this weekend mixing some of the songs so they mesh with the stream a little bit better. Is Godot a good engine? I'm a beginner. Yeah, Godot's great. When it comes to choosing a first engine, the first thing to understand is that they're all free, so you can download any of them and try them out. If Godot seems interesting to you, you should just download it and try it. I've personally never even used Godot, but everyone says it's great, and on paper it seems amazing because like it's open source and has all these features. I think Godot is a great choice. If you are a brand new beginner, or like you're young, or you don't feel super confident with coding, then I would recommend something like Game Maker or Scratch, something that's really, really easy to pick up on, just because the beginning process of learning game development can be overwhelming for a lot of people. And my goal normally is just to make sure that people don't feel so overwhelmed that they quit. Because the only way that you can't make a game that you want to make is if you stop trying. So just don't stop trying is the main thing. Any tips for tile sets? It is tricky. My tip is to download pre-made sets and use that as a starting point. And as you're developing your game, you'll figure out what things need custom sets or custom tiles, because a lot of these tiles came from a paid asset pack, but then things have evolved over time, where now the dirt that you see here is completely custom made by Beowulf. Same with the walls here. These cliff sides come from an asset pack, but I mixed them with some of Beowulf's custom sprites up here. So tile sets is so big and so complicated that I would really recommend collaborating, using some pre-made assets, and editing things to match your style, because coming from scratch, it takes so long. And, you know, I do want everyone to be able to make their own assets, and someday I'll reach the point where I'll have a full team behind me where I won't need to use pre-made assets. But when you're a solo dev, you kind of gotta do what you gotta do. Otherwise, the game just won't come out. If I didn't use any pre-made assets for this game, I would be like another year out, because I'd have to spend a year making tile sets and assets, and I don't really think that's what anyone wants. I worry about custom-made sprites and assets when it comes to like the characters or the weapons or any like story devices or set pieces. Those things require custom work. But things like dirt on the ground or the water, I don't think anyone really cares if these sprites exist elsewhere. Love what I do, thank you. Do I use Blender or any other game engines? I don't use Blender or any others. I just use Love2D and Tiled for the level design. But Blender is really, really nice. If I use any sort of 3D stuff, I would definitely be using Blender. So I'm going to go back to details. I'm going to go back to putting in those these little specs. Why do I publish my game on Steam and not Epic Games? No particular reason. Well, the first thing is that the game isn't out yet, so publishing it in multiple places wouldn't be a good wise thing to do, because then I would have to manage it in multiple places. So definitely I think we can agree that for sure, to start, keeping it in one place during development is better, because otherwise it would be too much of a pain to kind of switch between all that stuff on the fly frequently. Same with like which platforms I support, Mac versus Windows versus Linux. It's already a lot of work supporting Mac and Windows, and even Mac I wouldn't say I fully support yet, because certain types of Macs don't work. So it's a big balance. But I would not be opposed to doing Epic Games in the future, but I will say that a big reason why I don't is that I'm just not an Epic Games user. I don't have any games on Epic Games. I have an account, because you need an account in order to use Unreal Engine, I think. The nice thing about having a game or an application all in one place is that you can direct people to that one place. Same with like my stream. I was multi-streaming to Twitch for a while, but I decided just to go fully on YouTube, just because I don't like having things split up like that. It is really nice having the chat all here on YouTube, where I just it doesn't feel split up. That's all. I just realized the music box is back. Yes, it came back today. I'm very happy about that. Do I have something like a GDD, a game design document? No, I don't exactly, but what I have is I have my OneNote document, and I have all sorts of pages, and things are organized in my own way. I have physical notebooks that I write physical notes in. I have my iPad, and I have all my ideas are on paper. However, there's not like a master document that I keep updated with like the mantras and the goals and all the different design elements that are necessary for the game. The reason why is because I'm solo developing this game. I don't need to communicate like a game design document stuff to anyone. So since that's the case, it makes more sense for me just to use my own personal notes to keep track of all this stuff because I know where everything's at. I'm able to keep track of everything. But if I reach the point where I started collaborating with like another game designer or someone else was handling specific details that would require that, then I definitely would make a game design document. Allison MDO, I hope I said that right. Hey, wanted to thank you for the content about Love 2D. It's been really helpful. Thank you so much. That's such a kind thing. Thank you so much for the donation. That's super, super nice of you. Thank you. Gaming Shorts, you have to pick one and stick to it. Oh yeah, exactly. That's a really big aspect here. It's tough. If you're not sure, just pick one that sounds good. Yeah, because the thing is, they're all free. You can try any of them out for free, and if you don't like it, just move on to the next one. That's the beauty of it, is that there's no commitment. And also, if it turns out that you get a year into working with one engine and you don't like it and you want to switch, your skills will transfer. It's not a waste of time to learn Godot and then switch to another language or another whatever, because the skills do transfer. Coding in one language is pretty similar to coding in another, and making games in one engine is similar to other engines. Now, there's different ranges of that. Like, making games in Love 2D is not that similar to Unity. It's pretty different. But Godot is really similar to Unity, which is really similar to Unreal Engine, and Monogame is similar to Love 2D, and like Game Maker is different from all those things, but it's all similar to Construct. You know, it's there's a wide range, and thankfully, since it's all free, there's no real stressor in terms of figuring out which one to try. Can you take inspiration from my game? Of course, I take inspiration from lots of games. I finished my Love 2D and Lua course a few days ago. Awesome. I'm glad that it worked out for you. Yeah, I really do like that course. I'd love to put some more content into it and update it a little bit more because, you know, it's been a while since I've been able to post some new content. But really, that course is organized so nicely that it's been pretty solid so far. Okay. Is it the same? It is the same in other engines where you get a pre-made code for player movement like in Godot. No, it's not like that. Is that how Godot is, where when you put in like a movement class or a movement node onto an object, it just copies a bunch of boilerplate code to him? I bet that is how it works. But that's not how Love 2D works now. Love 2D really is like a baseline bare bones coding engine where you start with just an empty file and you add more files to it, you add more stuff. It really is on you, the programmer, to decide the functionality and the features and everything that goes into it, because I know there's a lot that goes into it. I would say that in general, that's what makes Love 2D kind of a trickier engine to get started with compared to Godot or Unity, because those are things that you can like drag and drop stuff into your editor and make things move around without having to do too much coding. But with Love 2D, you really do have to do a decent bit of coding before anything starts to look anything like a game. But even still, that being said, I think that it's pretty reasonable getting started with. So once again, I'm going through and putting these details up on these cliff sides. What tile editor? This is Tiled. T-I-L-E-D. And I really love it. I love Tiled. You're not patient enough? I mean, no matter which engine you choose, even if you choose like Game Maker or one of the easier ones, you are going to need patience. There's no way around that. Even if it turns out that Godot is easier than all the other ones, it's still going to be hard. Making a game is not easy, There's no engine where you just say, I want this player to move, and it moves perfectly. You're going to have problems. You're going to have issues that you need to work on. There's going to be all kinds of challenges. There's no way around it. You're going to need patience, and your first game is not going to be very good. Like, your first game, like, that's why I tell people to make really simple, easy games to start with, because your first game is going to be bad. In the same way that, like, when you're painting, when you're learning to become a painter, your first painting is going to be bad. That's just part of the process. So you wouldn't want to spend years working on one single painting. You would want to spend a week working on one single painting, and then you would be done with it, and you can move on to the next painting. And the next painting is going to be a little bit better than the first one. It just bugs me really bad when the stream gets interrupted by poor network connection. Yeah, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna stick around for a little bit longer. Also, I just got Deltarune music in, and I wanted to play. Sorry, a little late. No worries. I'm casting the curse right now. Ooh. Whoever's casting that curse, they need to stop. Okay, it's fine now. Okay, good. Still, I think we lost a lot of viewers because the stream was like not watchable for about 10 minutes. That was a long time, guys. I don't know what happened because my router, I think you can actually see it. There's my router on the far end there. And it didn't go down. My internet connection didn't go down. I think that it just went through a very short period where the connection was just bad. I'm sorry about that. Laggiest Maggius. Can you show me how to make the grass tufts moving? Oh, yeah, that's a little bit more complex. So the way the grass the way the grass is moving is that it's an object. So in game, if I go over here, like you can see the grass here is moving. It's a specific object. And it works by literally rotating different layers of the grass object or the grass sprite and rotating it like as if it's in the wind. So let me pull up those sprites real quick. Plants. And let's see, tall grass and tall grass 2. Okay, so if I open up tiled and show off these sprites. So the grass is separated into 2 layers. This is one layer, and this is the other layer. So then when you combine them, it looks like this. But you separate them so that they can flow at different rates. So if you look really closely, I'm gonna also try to zoom in on the grass tufts. The grass tufts. That's really tough to say. So it's kind of laggy when it's zoomed in, but you can see that the 2 individual pieces of the grass, it's moving at different rates, and that's how you get kind of like that wind-like motion to it. Oh, look at him. The pixel art looks interesting, but I think I prefer the old one. Yeah, you know, I think it always depends on what the end product is planning to look like. New cursor. Yeah, that's not in the Steam demo currently. But man, it's funny you say new cursor. I've been using this new cursor in the game for a long time, but I haven't posted this. I haven't posted the update to Steam, so no one's been able to use it. Did I make the screen font myself? Oh, the title screen font. No. So if I go back to the title screen, never mind. Oh no, I forgot. I changed things so that, I'm gonna have to fix that at some point. But the title screen is based off of, I paid an artist to make this title screen font. By the way, I see the grass has a small shadow. Yes, so the shadow is drawn separately. All of the shadows for all of the objects, if I go over to the shadows file, this is where it is actually. So all of the plants in the game, it iterates through every single one and draws a shadow sprite underneath of the plant. So that way, the sprite itself, I don't need to draw a shadow into this. I shouldn't. That would be bad if I had to do that. It's good that I can keep it pieced up. And that way the shadows are on like the floor, whereas everything else can be like in the world itself. How big is the game so far? Let me see. I actually have no idea. I'm gonna guess unextracted, the whole game is probably... I want to guess before I check. I'm gonna guess the whole game unextracted with the DLLs, I'll say. I'm going to guess it's 80 megabytes. That's my guess right now. So if I check this. Give me 1 second. That is tiny. It's really hard to see. But it's 52 megabytes. So it's pretty small. And it will get bigger for sure, but not too much. The big thing that adds data to the project is music and sound effects. So the music alone, let's see, how much is the music? The music is 19 megabytes. So just the music is 19 megabytes and the whole project is 50. So that's like 40% of the project is music. And I'm going to be adding a lot more music. So I bet by the end, the whole entire game, half of the data will be taken up by music and audio files. Oh, yeah, I didn't even count the sound effects. How much is the sound effects? The sound effects are 5 megabytes, so that's not very much. But still, 25 out of 50. So half of the entire game is audio files. Make an area where there's big snakes. It would be kind of interesting. I mean, that sounds kind of cool. How do you create that window with big zoom you used earlier? That window with the big zoom. The window with the big zoom. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I'm sorry. Will I be in the GMTK game jam? No, I'm sorry. I'm not doing that. I haven't been doing game jams just because they take up so much time. And when I'm spending all my time doing game development, I don't really like taking a break from game development to do more game development. Oh, the magnifier window. Yeah, on Windows, it's Windows key plus. So if you press Windows key plus, that's what makes the magnifier window open, and it's really helpful for streams. Because a lot of my streams do involve looking at like pixel perfect things. A level where you're forced to use a certain weapon. Yeah, I do plan to have that. So I have a weapon that's a torch. Man, that's really... I hate this dumb sign. If I spawn a torch. So I have little puzzles where you need to have a torch in order to like burn down certain obstacles. And I also have one where you need an axe to chop down the trees. So there's a few places where I do that. I've asked so much now. If you already said, can you use tiled in GDevelop? I don't know specifically, but tiled is pretty customizable and adaptable, so I would imagine so. But like with Love 2D, for example, tiled doesn't naturally support Love 2D, but tiled exports to Lua files, and I'm able to import Lua files into my game and interpret the data that way. And that's probably what you would have to do for GDevelop as well. Feels like Pokemon. That's a compliment if I'm... It's a compliment to me. Back to this. Let's put in more of these little doodads. Game looks great. Thank you. You'll add an idle animation. So I had an idle animation at one point. I bet some of the older videos will show it, but I had to take it out because having the idle animation... Well, I'm going to put it back. Don't worry. There is going to be an idle animation. But I took it out when I added support for customizing your colors, where it was really difficult making it so the idle animation was there in addition to the color customization. But I just need to add it back. It's going to come back. It's in fact, I would say it's kind of weird that the player stands still with no idle at all. That really should change. Can't wait to play this. Thank you. I am definitely excited to have it out and available. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. We're going to put some of these up here. Sort of like this. I get huge Magica 2 vibes when you modify the patch for sounds. Cool. Or modify the pitch for sounds. Yeah, I remember that. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Oh no. I should put those in. I should put those in top 3 actually, because top 2 is for the. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of all these. I'm gonna put those in top 3, and also those weren't very good anyway. Let's do something like this. Just specking it in. Whoop. I hope this will also be available for mobile. Don't have a PC. I haven't made any promises specifically about mobile, but I'm going to try. That's what I've said, is that I'm going to try and do mobile support. So I know how to make mobile games. I made Necrozone. And it's the same engine. I know how to do it. But when you make a game for mobile, it's very, very, very challenging and very annoying. And there's lots of annoying details that you have to work on that just make the process a little unfun. So that's kind of why I haven't really committed to it yet, because it's possible that I'll start on it and it'll be way too annoying. And I don't want to be stuck with supporting a really, really annoying platform. I'm glad the stream's working again. Yeah, it seems like it just was some kind of network outage where my network was too slow for like 10 minutes straight. That was really annoying. But it's such a bummer though, because I think a lot of people left the stream and they might not have come back. So that's too bad. I'm sad to see that. Maybe I can try doing a physical connection. So I tried a physical connection, like connecting with Ethernet to my computer for streaming, which I think most people do that. But when I did that with mine, it killed the bitrate, where Wi-Fi was actually better. But I think that's probably just a problem with my settings. I should give that another shot. Add a turtle NPC? That's a pretty good suggestion. What program am I building in? This is called Tiled for the level editor. How do I add the weather inside the game, like raindrops and snowflakes? So the way I do it is each of the individual raindrops that you see, each one is its own individual particle, and it just follows a very fast straight line path. So it starts up here, and it goes very quickly from this point down to this point. Boom. Very fast. And as soon as it reaches its end point, it like does that tiny splash animation on the ground, and it's done. So the way the weather works is it's just constantly spawning hundreds of these every second. Every second, a few hundred of these raindrops get spawned into the game, except it's happening constantly. It's happening like every few frames. Every 0.1 second, a dozen raindrops spawn in random positions and starts its trajectory downward. And it's just a bunch of individual particles doing that. They all have their own individual movement logic to make this work. Have I made any Love2D tutorials? Yes. In fact, if you search Love2D on YouTube, I think that my channel is the first result. Would love to hear some feedback have about some maps I've made. Well, I mean, it just depends. The way I think about maps is it's all dependent on the gameplay you're trying to achieve and what you want players to feel. So for me, all of my maps are very tight and kind of small and dense, whereas some games you wouldn't want that. You would want it to be wide open because your characters, like what if it's a game where you can ride a horse? You would want big wide open areas. You wouldn't want tight spaces like this. So it's all very dependent on what kind of game you want to make. So back to this. Will I make a Switch port? I don't know. That seems less and less likely every day, but it's within the realm of possibility. I would like to do that. I think that'd be fun. I've never ported anything to console before, though. And Love2D natively doesn't support console, but I think I would be able to pull it off. Okay, so let's go ahead and export this and see how it's looking so far. Because I can go into this map and we can see these specs. I missed this one. Let's fix that. Ah, give me a good one. It's like roulette. There we go. There we go. That's pretty good. How hard is the game going to be? I don't want it to be like a rage-inducing hard thing, but I do want it to be challenging. Yeah, I always want games to be challenging. I don't like it when games are too easy, but, you know, I don't think it can be so hard that it isolates people. Because at the end of the day, it is kind of like a cartoony, I don't want to say childish game, but it would appeal to kids. So I don't really want to make it so hard that like a kid couldn't beat it. I think I should consider changing how cliffs actually look. I mean, with those with those climbing cliffs should be better. Well, there's no climbing. Like these are walls. Like these are just walls that you can't walk through. These cliffs you can't climb up the cliffs. There's no climbing. These are just meant to be physical barriers that you can't pass through. Oh, this song is not mixed properly. It's too quiet. I had to turn up the volume. Me and my friend are rocking and rolling and have been for the past few months on our top-down game, Project Void March. In the future, would you like to add fog and atmosphere? Do I have any tips? Yeah, the way that I do fog in my game is you can kind of see it, especially like in this section here, you can see the fog texture rolling over. And literally all it is, it's a very, very large image of a fog effect that is just rolling across the screen. So let me pull this up. So it's a little green looking, but here, let me give it a clearer background. So this is what the fog texture looks like, and it's a very, very large image, well, relative to the pixel art, and it just covers the entire screen and moves across the screen very slowly. And it wraps multiple times, so it's always constantly covering the screen. And you can also see that it has a little bit of parallax movement when the camera moves too. It's really hard to tell on stream, but it does. So it feels like it has a little bit of depth, where it's not just an overlay. It feels like it's kind of part of the world, but it's a mix. Will there be any DLCs? I don't plan to do any paid DLCs. But if the game is received well and people want more content, then I would love to make more content, similar to what like Hollow Knight did, where they made more content after release. Can I show pretty quickly how I made the rain? I kind of already talked about that. So the rain, it's just a sprite. It's just a little tiny pixel art raindrop, and I just move it from from up here all the way down, and it just goes very fast. And I spawn dozens of them every 0.1 seconds. And it's randomized where it spawns at the top. It's randomized where it's... So actually, the way the raindrops work is each raindrop calculates its landing position first. It calculates its landing position, and then it offsets itself up and to the left. And then after the offset happens, then it starts its very quick descent, where it shoots downward towards the ground, and once it hits its landing position, then the whole thing ends. And that all happens very quickly. Like you can see all these raindrops. It's doing that logic dozens of times, hundreds of times per second, because there's that many raindrops. Even if DLCs will be paid, I'll be happy to support. Well, thank you. That's really nice of you to say. Does it impact the performance to match? Potentially, and that is something to always be mindful of, is whenever you have logic going into like environmental objects, and like you can see it in the fireflies too, there's fireflies that fly around, all of those have movement logic as well. And if you have movement logic on hundreds of entities, it could be a performance cost. And yeah, I would say that these raindrops, having these raindrops falling from the sky right now, could potentially cause performance issues on like a super low end machine, maybe. But what I'm getting at is it's not a problem. It's not a performance issue, but it can be a performance issue if I don't properly stop the logic. And this was an issue early on. It's called a memory leak. So let's say that the raindrop hits the ground and then it's done. The calculations for that raindrop are completely done. But what if there was a bug where the calculations continued? It still tried to calculate the position of that raindrop even though the raindrop is already gone. It's already dead. That is a problem because over time, it's spawning so many of these raindrops that over time, the list of raindrops would grow to become huge. It would become millions of raindrops and counting. It would never stop growing. And in a situation like that, you would eventually start to see the game stutter and lag because memory is filling up with this leak. It's called a memory leak because the memory just keeps increasing. So many raindrops are being added to memory that it crashes the game. It's so much space being taken up. But in my case, since the raindrops delete themselves completely from the game as soon as they hit the ground, that means at a very maximum, there's only like a few hundred raindrops on screen or in the game at any given time. There's never more than like 200 of them, because as soon as the first couple hundred end, there's another couple hundred flooded by memory. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And as long as the game is performant while the maximum number of raindrops on screen is active, then it's okay. But if it was like a memory leak issue where they never deleted themselves, then that would be a problem. I like to ask how it creates each weapon's hitbox. Can't seem to comprehend it from the project on GitHub. Yeah, it's tricky, and it's a per weapon, like weapon to weapon basis. I don't have a good place to demonstrate. Whoop. Are you guys still there? Oh shoot! I switched desktops. Oh no! I hope that didn't screw everything up. Okay, good. So on Windows. Oh no! I think it did screw everything up. On Windows, you can create what's called virtual desktops, which basically hides all of your applications and opens a new desktop instance. And that's what I accidentally did. I created a new instance, and yeah, I can see it on my stream. It completely ruined everything for a while. What I was going to show is the hitboxes. So, like the greatsword. The hitbox for the greatsword is not great because it uses like these line ellipses. So if I show on hitboxes, you can kind of see where the hitboxes are. Oh, how about that stab creates a big triangle. So every hitbox has its own shape. And you can kind of see the egg shape in front of the player whenever the slash comes out. But there's also the slash. So like if I do a slash attack like this, it creates a big triangle hitbox. Probably a little too big, honestly. But that is what I'm doing. Add some rainy level? Yeah, I'm planning to add a rainy level. Oh, I'm sorry, the music is so loud. I'm sorry the music was so loud this whole time. The music was loud because I turned it up for a previous song and then I forgot to turn it back down. That's the problem when the music is mixed differently. Some songs get so loud and some don't actually get affected by it. Let's go on to add details to... Or we're gonna do spot details for these. So now I'm sticking to like the undersides, because the tiles I selected are the ones that fit well on the undersides of things. That's pretty good. The music is nice, thank you. Yeah, I love my playlist. Let's go up here. No, we'll save that one. Can I play the Drift Posted music? No, so I don't have anything like, I don't do requests. It's just a very long playlist that I have. I think Driftvale City is on the playlist, though. Or maybe I had to take it off. I had to take one off because, there was a problem on YouTube where someone was re-uploading Pokemon music and then making claims on other streams that was using it. So I think I had to take some of that off. What is this stream about? I'm just decorating. I'm just adding decorations to this map. So let's move on to the top ones. I guess this is more the underside. Go. How long will the game be? I'm not sure. It just depends because a lot of people strive in their indie games to go for like long games, and that's definitely not what I'm trying to go for with mine. I'm trying to go for quality over quantity, and that might mean the game isn't super long, but the entire game is fun. That's what I'm more concerned with. It's definitely going to be 3 hours or more. That's the goal here. And 3 hours doesn't sound like very much, but making 3 hours of really, really good, tight, high quality content, it's tricky. It's not. I wouldn't say it's easy. Let's go over to this side and keep adding these in. I guess actually I more want these. Will the game be replayable? Oh, totally. Part of the appeal with this is that I want the game to feel open enough where you can choose which places to go first, and you can devise different routes to take advantage of different upgrades you get in different areas that are beneficial to other areas. I want to make it so like let's say that there's 3 main dungeons, and you can choose the order that you do those 3 main dungeons. The first one that you do is always going to be really tricky because you don't have the upgrades from the other ones. But once you do the 3rd dungeon, you have the upgrades from the previous 2 dungeons. And I want that to be able to open up a bunch of shortcuts in the 3rd dungeon, so it feels like you are like really powerful and have a lot of cool upgrades at that point. I think I'm gonna go ahead and start putting in detail. Oh yeah, this one. Onto the dark patches. So I have another set of grasses here that I'm going to go ahead and do. Is it like a top-down roguelike? Wouldn't that make the game too easy? I wouldn't. This game is not a roguelike. This game is very tightly designed. And there's not planning to be any like RNG elements like a roguelike would have. What engine is called Love 2D? Would I say that something like Game Maker is similar in difficulty? I think Game Maker is easier, and I think that Game Maker is even better for beginners. It's better for anyone, really. Or it's better for lots of people, is what I mean. Game Maker is great. I used Game Maker when I was starting out, and I love it. I think Game Maker is great. Do I have a map manager or a file for each chunk? Not exactly. I just have each map is the whole, has all the data. Like there's map data as well, like map properties that has specific data pieces that have IDs and stuff. But no, otherwise everything's kind of contained within the map itself. Will there be in-game choices? The choices are the order, like the choice of where to go. That's the choices you get. There's probably gonna be choices in terms of like, if I decide to do multiple endings, there's probably gonna be minor things that you can like account for. But otherwise, I wouldn't say that it's that type of game. Do I love 2D? Oh, I definitely love 2D. I love 2D and I love 2D. Okay, now let's do details on the dirt. So this one's more straightforward. I literally just like find places to put these tiny rocks. I'll probably put them like this and just like plop them around. And then let's put in some of these. What inspired me to make this style of game? I don't know. It's just always been something I've been interested in. I love Zelda games. I love retro graphics and retro music. So that's just always been an interest of mine, I think. How difficult will it be making a 3DS game? Wow, that sounds very difficult. The reason why it sounds difficult is because Nintendo does not want you to do that. And when the console is actively fighting against you from doing what you're trying to do, then it's probably not going to be very easy. So I'm going to say, on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of difficulty, probably 10. But it does sound cool. I love 3DS. That's one of my favorite consoles ever. That'll do. Okay, let's go ahead and see how these look. Most old Nintendo consoles used assembly. I believe that. 3DS games were not, though. 3DS games were made using modern software. So let's go over to the new area. This map is a mess, by the way. I have so much junk here. Okay, so the stuff on the ground looks pretty nice. So now that the texture is on the ground, I need to add in the grass particles. Let's go here, plants. So the way I put plants into the game is kind of annoying because I have to take a plant object and literally put it like paste it in like this. And there's probably ways I could automate this, but at the end of the day, I do have to have these what are these called? These little pins. I have to put these in around it. I'd like to maybe I could maybe have some kind of automation or an AI or something that could place these grass particles in. That'd be way better because the way I'm doing it now manually is big pain. But at least I can be precise about it. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing a first pass of just grass, and then I'm going to do another pass of flowers and then of sprouts. So there's lots of different ground particles that I need to get in place. Spyro music's so magical. I love the Spyro soundtrack. One of my main inspirations for the game? I'd say my main inspirations are Zelda, like old school. My favorite is Link's Awakening. I think the Souls games, but I didn't play too many of the Souls games, like Elden Ring. I love Elden Ring. I'd say Elden Ring is a big inspiration in terms of like the combat and the dodge rolling and the fast pace, lots of weapons sort of stuff. I like Hollow Knight a lot. That's a big inspiration too. And then visually with like pixel art, Minish Cap. I love the pixel art in that game. There's not too many modern pixel art games, so things like Hyper Light Drifter I really like. I played Wizard of Legend. I like Wizard of Legend's gameplay. I think it's a lot of fun. And Wizard of Legend 2 just came out, I think. The chat on stream video doesn't support asterisks. That's weird. That's pretty funny. I had no idea. That would be sheep chat. So sheep chat does not support asterisks. Let me try. Hyperlight Drifter is so good. Yeah, I love that game. Wow, that is crazy. You're right. The asterisk just turned into like a broken image. That's so funny. I wonder why that is. I wonder if that's a sheep chat issue or I don't know. That's kind of weird. I really should remove this song from my playlist because this seems like the type of song that would get claimed. But I do love this song. I really love Final Fantasy music. Water a bit fast though. It's funny you say that because I was working on the water last night. I was reprogramming in this. Whirlpool, and I was actually thinking about making the water faster. So I'm on the fence about that. Oh, I'm missing a bunch of grass here. I wonder why I've never seen a game like Minecraft but in 2D pixel art top-down style. There's a lot of limitations whenever you have like a forced perspective, because what you're describing, like Terraria, is kind of like that, except it's a side profile rather than top-down. You know, you could say like Dwarf Fortress is kind of like that, but you know, I don't. It's hard to really say. I know what you mean. It would be cool if there was a game that was fully destructible in all directions and you could take advantage of all the Minecraft systems in a 2D environment. That would be cool. Add a wall of potatoes, please. That's an interesting request. Let's see how these grass particles are looking so far. So there they are. There definitely needs to be more variety, which is what I'm working on right now. I have these sprouts. Do I make the water tiles as well? The edges and the water came from an asset pack, and I edited them for my game. The whirlpool was custom made. I commissioned an artist to make that. I commissioned Tony. Tris Pixels was the artist who made the whirlpool. There was an indie game called Forsaken Isle that is kind of like top-down Minecraft. That sounds neat. Do I think programming is a cool skill to have? I think it's underrated. I think it's the best skill to have. I think that in the coming years, it's going to be more and more rare to have good coding skills because AI is kind of creating a new environment for what development looks like, which is it's neither a good or a bad thing. It's just different. So I think that what coding even means is going to change. I'm very glad that I learned to code before AI, though. What's my favorite detail about this game? Favorite detail? I would say things like the hidden mechanics. I would say just the detail of turning things into mechanics that aren't normally mechanics, like crossing the water like this. How you can't swim normally, you drown. But if the gap is short enough, you can make it across. I think that's there's a lot of like emergent gameplay of small details, small gameplay mechanics that I just found while playing. You just bought RPG Maker? Awesome, cool. Lots of games were made with that. There's plenty of games made with RPG Maker that turn out to be big hits. I bet even on my Steam, I bet I have a few. To the Moon. I think I have that. Where is that? To the Moon. This was made with RPG Maker. Do I have Fear and Hunger? I don't have Fear and Hunger, but Fear and Hunger was also made with it. Have I heard of the default game engine? Yeah, people ask about that a lot, and I haven't personally tried it. So I wouldn't use it over Love2D just because, I mean, Love2D does everything that I need it to. I really like it. There's probably not really a need for me to change. The resizing of the window is a cool detail to have. Oh, totally. Being able to do this, that's pretty sick. Yeah, I'd say the game working in like super full widescreen like this is pretty cool. I think visually the game is looking nicer and nicer too. There's a lot of small details that I'm really liking. So back to putting down the plants. I think I'm done putting down sprouts. Or maybe I need like one more up here. And what I'm going to do now is put in some flowers to put some color in. So this one's just a pink flower. So I'm going to put a bunch of pink flowers everywhere. Am I also streaming on Twitch? Nope, just YouTube. I did multi-streaming for a while. How much do I earn in a month? Not very much. So the Udemy courses earn maybe around $700 or $800 per month, and then YouTube earns about $300, maybe $400 on a good month. So combined, it's not even enough to pay my rent. Like my rent is $1,200 per month. So like the income that I'm getting from all my online stuff isn't quite enough to even cover rent. The way I'm able to do this full time is because I saved really well. I did a good job making sure I was set up and I could do this, and hopefully once the game releases, it'll make some money. But if it doesn't, that's okay. Yeah, the financial aspect of game development is really challenging. Because well, it's also on me. I haven't sold games at all yet. I haven't sold any games. I have lots of games, but they're all free. So now I'm going to start using a purple flower. Purple. Valley Windworks flower thingy. I mean, that's kind of what these are. Is they're like interactable things. So what about that wall of potatoes? There's no plans to implement a wall of potatoes. That kind of seems a bit too random. Also, I'm picturing like potatoes that are planted in the ground, and it's like potato spuds. Let's put one here. Okay, and now I'm going to put in one last flower type. It's called the Dandy. Dandy. Like dandelion. What was my job earlier? I worked at Microsoft. I was a software developer. Put this here. Why did I move from GameMaker to Love2D? Yeah, that's a good question. I used Love2D when I was young. I started using... Sorry, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. I started using GameMaker when I was young. When I was probably 12 or 13. I have videos on YouTube from when I was 12 of making games with GameMaker. So I used it from a young age, and my exposure to it was that of a young person. So when I like started taking programming classes in high school and college, that was like my moment where it's like, okay, GameMaker is like drag and drop coding, which is good, and I'm able to make games with it, but I do see potential in learning how to code in traditional ways, because it opens up the number of options you have. It's like it's no longer just GameMaker or you know, blueprints from Unreal Engine. There's lots of options now because I know how to code. So it was, the movement was more that since I became a coder, I wanted to use an engine that really leveraged that, and I'm glad I did. It ended up working out nicely for me. maybe an area with large bushes which hides the player 50 to 60%. That would be kind of cool, and I do want to kind of do something like that, because I was playing with this area over here, and I thought it was really funny how when I walked over to this area and walked up to this table, how I could like walk up to the table and like walk behind it like this, and it just like looks like the player is like standing right up against the table and looking at it. I just thought it looked really funny like this. But I bet it would be funnier if I came up with like some kind of thing that you could stand in that really changes things. Because this isn't actually funny. You're just standing at a table. But if I try to make it into some kind of joke, I think that there could be something funny based off of something like that. When I add guns, I'm probably not gonna add guns. I think the bottom wall tiles are a bit weird, maybe. Yeah, so the thing about the bottom wall tiles, if you're talking about like these, the problem with them is that they don't fit the perspective perfectly. If the wall goes right up here, you should be able to walk under it a little bit, but I think that's a very small sacrifice I'm willing to make, where I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Maybe it would look a little bit better if the perspective shifted down a little bit more, where like this shaded part was slightly lower so that it felt like the camera was more on top. I think that would help, and maybe I can try that afterwards, but I don't know. I think right now I kind of like how it looks. Are all sprites drawn by me? No. Every sprite is edited by me in some capacity, either shifting the shape, the outlines, the shading, the colors. I do a lot of editing on every single sprite and tile, but no, a lot of the sprites are made by other people. Either I buy pre-made asset packs, or I commission other artists to make things that I'm not able to make myself. But I do make a lot of sprites myself. Like I made the main character by myself. I made like the weapons and all these grasses and decorations I made. So there's a lot of things that I'm able to do myself, but a lot of things that I can't do, or that I'm just not. If I could do them, like I could make main menu art myself, but it isn't going to be as good as what Tony could make. So it makes more sense for me to pay someone else to do things if they're able to do a better job on something. And that's kind of like an ego thing to get over. I remember when I was making games as a kid, I was very adamant about making every aspect of the game myself, just because I felt more authentic to do it that way. But in the end, it's just not really practical. It's better to have skilled people and skilled departments do their skills to make really good output. Because if I'm a really good programmer, sure, I think I'm a good artist too, but there are way better artists than me. Much more skilled ones that can make much better artwork. And since that's the case, I want my game to be as good as possible. Do I fixate on doing it all myself when there's someone else that could do something better? Or do I allow that collaboration to happen? Do I allow collaboration and allow other people to have an impact on my game? Even though, yeah, I do wish that it could have been all me. But if that meant that the final product is worse, I don't think it's worth it. What do I do for a living? I do this for a living now. I mean, I pay my bills thanks to savings and YouTube and Udemy and investments. But yeah, at the moment, I would not say I'm profitable. I'm just getting by, and that's okay. Once the game releases, I think that people will buy it and I'll be able to make money off of it. But if it doesn't happen, that's okay too. The world of game development is harsh and competitive and difficult, and I accept that sometimes it's going to be too difficult to succeed. Big deal, that happens. As long as I'm financially secure, that's the main thing. Okay, so I added in all of those flowers. Let's see how those look. Also, after the stream, I'm going to go back and cut out the portions where the stream was laggy, because that bothers me. Eric Barone is truly a dream of every indie developer. Yeah, and I think that he really did do almost everything himself. It took a long time, but it worked out great. Now, the thing is, for every Eric Barone story, there is 100 failed Eric Barone stories. How many indie developers out there do you think tried to create their own Stardew Valley, their own game from scratch where they made everything themselves, and then it just never got completed? How many games never actually got released, or they got caught up on some issue that wasn't able to get fixed, or there was financial problems? There's so many things that can come up during game development that impact things, where if you insist on doing everything on your own, you're opening yourself up to like really vulnerable positions where you can't handle these issues. Perfect example, me. And me too. I mean, I haven't released my game yet. I've been so fixated on these finer details too. I'm in the exact same boat. I think that pink one can go there. But besides that, everything looks pretty good. Now, what I want to do is add... I'm going to add the trees. So all of these maps have trees. It's hard to find them. Oak. So like an oak tree. So up in plants, I'm going to put an oak tree here. I'm going to put one here, and here, and here. Just littering some oak trees around the map. And also, these have the fake property enabled, which means that they don't have any physics, which is good. Oh, actually, you know, before I do the oak trees, I'm going to get rid of these. Before I do the oak trees, I'm going to do the redwood trees, because there's these redwood trees that are huge, and they need to be in really specific spots. Like, the redwood tree probably would go right here, because they're so tall that it, like, takes up the whole... It would, like, go from here all the way up through here. So I'm going to put this one here, and I'm going to put another one here, too. And then one here. Okay, now back to oak trees. I'm going to grab this. I'll put one here. See, I need to put the trees more like towards the edge of this elevated platform section. That's good. That's good. I might replace some of these with stumps later on, but for now I think it'll look better if they're all trees. Okay, so now there's trees on the platforms. And I think there's going to be one tree right here that's going to be a fruit tree. I'm going to call it apple, actually. Rename this. Or, what did, I remember. It was called fruit and then apple. Oh, someone donated. Thank you so much. Pixie's Game Dev. Hippo character waves goodbye with the words next time behind him. That's really cool. I love that idea. Thank you so much for the donation. That is so, so kind of you. Thank you. Thank you. Another plant is going to go right here. There's going to be a safe spot right here. I'm going to say... Get rid of this. Remove. This is going to be called save. Have I considered random birds or other animals running by? Oh, that's a really good idea. I've considered that, and it's in my list of things to do, but I haven't touched that yet. That's a really good one. That would add a lot of life, because mainly the main thing I'm going for is I want all of these maps to feel like there's movement, where there's something like the water movement is good, the rain, the spikes, the flowing trees. The fireflies, the fog, all of that stuff really makes the game feel alive, and anything that adds to that is a really big plus. You should add Mario Kart World OST to the playlist? I totally should, assuming that they allow it. I haven't heard Mario Kart World OST in any YouTube videos yet, so I need to see if they claim those songs yet, because the stuff that goes in my playlist is stuff that I've tested to make sure that Nintendo's okay with me playing it. Wind particles, like the opening of Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. Yeah, I have something like that in the town. Can I show this? Because I must have disabled it. So in town, I can go to map, properties, the zone is town, and then if I go to load map, there's a forest zone. I can make a new zone called town. Let's go ahead and do this real quick. So what this is doing is it's setting all of these finer details for the town areas. So whenever you're in town, let's keep all of these at default. Let's make it not very dark or not very foggy. Let's make the new dark not very dark either. That's fine. And then instead of rain and fireflies, I think I called it petals, maybe? Let me see. Weather. Petals? Yeah, petals. So I have this weather type called petals, and I think that when I go ahead and restart the game now, it'll do what you were describing, where it's like wind particles. So let's warp over to town. Where are they? I don't see them. It's not doing it. Oh, right. Not weather. It's weather 2. Or no, not weather 2. It's what did I call it? Nature. I forgot that I got rid of weather. Okay, so I actually need a new one of these. And this is called petals. And the effect is called petal. Interval is 0.025, that's fine. Or 0.25, excuse me. And effect count, how many? Just 1. Okay, so what I did was I basically reprogrammed in the petals weather effect because I changed. I forgot that I did this. I don't use weather anymore. I use something called nature. I'm going to actually get rid of this weather file, so we're going to be using nature instead because I want this nature thing to account for all things more than just weather. Like fireflies. Fireflies, I wouldn't say counts as weather, but in the game, fireflies kind of behave like weather. It's just like they appear as particles. So I changed everything to this new nature format. It's a little bit more flexible. But I think that now that that's in place, I should be able to go back to town. And it should be okay. Whoops, wrong place. There they are. Okay, so if we wait for a bit, I think that we'll start seeing the blossom, the petals fly in. I think that it would look better if there were more of them. Let's say 2, and then the interval 1, 5. Let's try this one more time. 100 concurrent viewers. I'm glad that people were able to come back, because earlier in the stream, like the network legitimately went down for almost 10 minutes. It was horrible. The petals are pretty. Thank you. There's I took it too far. I think now there's too many, but yeah, I like the petals. It'll look better once the lighting's better. That's the other complaint I have with this game is that the lighting feels a little off. It always feels too dark and too gray, and there's not enough light sources. When is devlog coming? I know it's been a while. I wish I knew. I'm sorry. I know it's just taking me so long to get caught up on all this stuff. And really, it's more that I don't want to make a devlog until I have the Steam demo updated. Because the Steam demo is my #1 priority right now. And that's why I haven't been making videos. It's just because I just want to make this Steam demo and get it out at the door. That's my #1 goal. Oh yeah, so we were going to check out the petals, make sure that those work. So they definitely work, it's just I want to make sure that there's not too many of them. Because I did up the amount from what it was by default. I think there's actually a mistake here. I think there's a problem. Because my old petal system had... Yeah, look at this. There's 2 types. There's horizontal petal and petal. That's the problem. I forgot to do this, like, randomness thing. How about this? I'm gonna okay, so this is kind of silly what I'm doing. It's not silly, it's actually kind of cool. So right now, in my nature file, if I'm going to do this. So all of these aspects, rain, fireflies, they only have one effect tied to it. But I'm going to make it so that now there can be multiple. No, I changed my mind. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make an additional aspect called petals fast. Or fast petals. Fast petals. And the effect is horizontal petal. So what I'm doing here is that there's two types of petals that I want to spawn. That's why effect count was so low, like this. Because it's going to alternate between horizontal petal and regular petal. So what I'm really going to do here is petals is true, but then also fast petals is true. So now we're going to get both types. I'm like, I knew something looked a little bit off. So it's going to be hard to really tell, but there's two types of petals that are going on here. There's one type that sways back and forth. If you watch really closely at the individual petals, half of them will sway back and forth, and half of them will just like be more caught up in the wind where they just blow right by. It's a mix of them. Some are flying right by, and some are swaying back and forth. That's what the randomness I was talking about is sometimes it's doing that, or sometimes it's swaying and sometimes it's floating by. I think that the way I did it actually is a little bit better, where it's doing both of these in equal proportion. I think I'm actually able to change these from true to multipliers, so I could change the fast petals to like 3, and then now there's going to be a lot more fast petals. Let's start an auto load. I should have turned this on earlier, honestly. Can you can collab with other indie devs? Yeah, I think I'd love to do that at some point. So, go to town. So I think now there's going to be a lot more petals, and a lot more of them are flying straight by. And actually, I kind of like how that looks. There's too many, but I kind of like how it looks when there's a lot more of the floating by ones. Yeah, this is better than I was expecting. I think I came across something nice. Rather than 3, we'll make this 2. So essentially, there's going to be twice as many fast petals compared to the swaying ones. But I think seeing how this turned out, it looks better like that. There's too many in this example. Let's try this again. How does my load save system work? Ooh, that's a good question. I'll show that off in one moment. So the way the load and save system works is Love2D has a dedicated folder for all of the file system data, and it's here. And you can see that there's a different folder for each file. So my game supports 5 different save files. So if I go into save file 1, there's a bunch of individual Lua files for all of the individual data that needs to be saved. There's one for the config, the items, the maps. So like if I opened up in a text editor the items file, it looks like this. It shows all of the different colors that I've unlocked. I've unlocked the white dye and the red dye. It shows how many weapons I've unlocked. I've unlocked the fist, and how many spells, how many key items. So all of that data is stored in this table here, and it's stored in this items file. There's another file called player, and it has like the exact position that the player was last saved at, what weapon is equipped, what map you're at, the color Like, you can customize what colors you have for the eye and the hood and stuff. So all that stuff is actually saved to a file in the save data folder. So when it comes time in the main menu that you want to load a file, it literally goes into this folder and it takes all of the data that's stored in each of these files and it applies it to the current instance of the game so that you can continue on where you left off. And this is still a lot of pedals. I think I'm going to tone it down a little bit more, maybe from 2 to 1.5. But I'll leave it at that, and then I'm going to go back to working on details of this earlier map. You boot up the game. I mean, yeah, at the moment, the game probably won't work on certain Macs, if you're talking about my game. The background effect looks like one of Lavender Town. Do I think you have something similar in my game? The background effect looks like some... Yeah, so I think I know what you're talking about. Are you talking about, like, the fog that floats by? Because that definitely is kind of inspired by the old school RPGs that do stuff like that. Totally. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these grass pieces and place them up on top of the cliffs here. And I'm also going to look for any other small gaps. Like, I missed all of these up here, too. I guess I should put more than this. I should put a tree up here. So, I'm gonna get rid of all of this. First, I'm going to put in some texture like this. Like that. And then let's put in the details, which I'm talking about this one. I might just have to itemize this one, just go bit by bit. And then now the top ones. There's much to learn in game developing, there definitely is. That's why I always say, like, take your time with it and go easy on yourself. Even simple games are really hard to make. Pong is not easy to make if you don't know what you're doing. I keep forgetting it's a live stream. Yeah. Yeah, feel free to chat away. I love chatting. Yeah, time flies by when I do these streams. I really do like it. But I don't like it when the internet shuts off and my stream freezes. That makes me mad. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make sure I can't forget to delete that portion of the stream. It was unwatchable. Oh, I was also gonna put plants up here. So grasses. And I'll put a tree in there too. We need trees up here too. Looks like I missed a section. New around here, is this tiled? Yes. Have I taken a look at LTTK at all? Yes. I took a look at those on stream actually. And LDTK looks like it probably would be just as good, maybe even better than tiled for my game. Just because it supports maps like bleeding together really nicely. But I know how tiled works really well. And starting over with a new piece of software that I'm not familiar with, it just wouldn't be worth it. But both of them seem great. When I played the game, I, and somewhere, and don't remember trying to rejoin, do something, could not move. Yeah, but it was probably... Can you make it so you could delete saves? If you can, I think, in the pause menu, or in the main menu. When you open up the game, I think that there's a delete option in the settings. But there was a bug where when you tried to use the fan, it would just freeze you in place. That is fixed, so no worries on that front. Will there be pets? The most I would consider is, like, if there's a dog in town, maybe I could add it so that when you pet the dog, it follows you for a bit. But in general, I actually don't really like pets when it comes to, like, combat scenarios. I always feel like it's annoying. But I could try to find a way to make it not annoying. It's called pioneering. I don't think I'm gonna go through these cliffs and add the sprouts and the flowers up here. That doesn't seem necessary. Oh, I also need to add the dark grass too. There's a lot of detail that goes into making one of these maps. Using Raylib, but I'm assuming it's the same in Love2D. For maps, then probably, yeah. Add your icon as an Easter egg? Probably not. I mean, I'll probably add Easter eggs for sure, but I'll be more cautious about which ones I add. Just petting them is fine. I would love to add, I want to put my cat in the game. I have a cat. Her name's Misty. She's a black cat, and I want to put her in the game. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Probably add a little bit more. Spawn familiars. Yeah, I think that if there was a weapon that was dedicated to being like the summoning weapon, or it's a weapon that just, it's not very powerful, but it has like a familiar attached to it, that would be kind of cool. Because like in like World of Warcraft, maybe by yourself you don't do too much damage, but you and your familiar together, it does do a lot of damage. So, next thing, I think I'm going to put in the dark grass. So there's... Oh, I need to put the dark grass in there too. So I have tall, dark. I need to put them here. Like that. And I'm going to export this one. Then over here. So these dark sections, I'm putting more grass on it, but when it's a dark section, it has to be a specific type of grass that's also dark. Yet another reason why automating this is not very feasible, because there's some like visual learning to it. I guess AIs are able to work visually now. I do streams every day. No, I don't do streams every day. that'd be a lot. I do streams once a week. And honestly, that like once a week feels perfect for me. If I did another stream, it would be like a gaming stream, but I don't think I plan to do that at the moment. Is there Farrell's pet? I'm not sure I know what that means. I feel like this is like a thing that also helps you with discipline. Well, sort of. Working on stream, I am probably 20% productive. Because I'm constantly reading chat, and I'm not really getting too much stuff done. This stream has been more productive than usual, because I'm just placing stuff down, and it's kind of mindless. But normally my streams are not productive. It's just me talking with chat. So I wouldn't say that these are good for productivity, but they are fun, and they're good for marketing the game and getting the word out there. So it's not wasted time at all. But it's hard for me to work productively while I'm on stream. Let's put in the spike, 4 spikes. So I'm going to put like this. These are the spikes that you have to roll over. I'll probably put one more right here. And then up here is going to be bramble. So let's put bramble. And I'm going to put the perm property on this, perm, which means that once you destroy the bramble, it will forever be destroyed. Because if something has the perm property, then it gets stored in the save data, so it will never spawn again. Hello from Ukraine. Awesome. I really like your short videos. They contain a lot of useful information, and your work on game motivates me to make my own game. Awesome. That's so cool. Thank you for chatting. Hello from US to Ukraine. That's so cool. Okay, let's try that out. So all I did was I put in a few more plants. They're specific types though. So if I warp over to the woods, we got these floor spikes. I guess that one looks a little bit off. I'll probably just delete that one. So I'll save that. Save and export. I'll leave and come back. Okay, now it's gone. That's fine. And then up here, we got all the bramble. So the bramble, like, separates this. I think I'm going to move this tree down so you can see the bramble a little bit easier. Like down here, like that. This never has to be perfect. There we go. That's all right. Oh, good. I'm glad that the apples spawned, because I couldn't remember how I programmed that. So this is a nice position for this. As you're walking through this area, you'll see the fruit tree, and you'll know that you can, like, hit it and get the fruit off of it. Will there be a new version of the demo before the full game? Yes, there's going to be lots. So the demo hasn't been updated for quite a while, and that's mainly just because I've been struggling to get things figured out. I've been taking things in a new direction a lot. I've been trying to, I don't know, just been experimenting with lots of different ideas, and it's coming together now, but it's been so long since the last update. I really need to cross that milestone again. It's gonna be, it's basically been hyped up like its own release, the demo update, just because it's been so long. I love playing my own games as well. I get stuck, like, just wandering around and, like, dashing around, you know, whatever. I get sucked into my own game a lot. That's a good sign. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna put in is the walls, or maybe I should put in the top plants. So there's plants that can sit on top of the cliffs. So let's go ahead and put those in. So I'll put one right here, and one here. These have a top property, which means that they can sit on top of cliffs. So if I go to this area in game down here, these cliffs down here are meant to be like forced perspective above the player. So when I walk below them, I get covered up. And since that's the case, I want any tree that's up on these cliffs to also be up on top too, which is why I have this top property applied. I'm going to go ahead and put more of these trees. I think I'm going to put a redwood right here because there's enough space for it. Redwood. There we go. And I'll do the same thing with some grasses. Or I'll put another oak. So grab grass. We'll also have some greens which should be ground. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like the top part of this, it looks like you should be able to walk underneath of it, but we'll see. I know what you're considering. So now I'm just putting more grass objects up on the cliff. Again, these also have the top property so that they appear on top of the cliff. Otherwise, they just appear under the cliff, and that wouldn't be visible. How do I make objects animate? So it's different for lots of different things. So if I'm trying to animate a character, I have a sprite sheet, and I'll show an example of that real quick after I get done with these. Otherwise, I'm definitely gonna forget. But some things are animated programmatically too. I'll show an example of both. Okay. So, to animate things, to animate an object, the most straightforward way is to use a sprite sheet. So if I pull up my player, for example, and I have full, we can see like this second row. All of these frames, this represents the walk animation. So this is the first frame of the animation, then the next one, then the next one. and it loops through all of these frames to get that walk cycle. So in game, it looks like I'm walking. And all it's doing is it's just very quickly iterating through all of those frames. But yet, things like the grass on the ground, it's moving, but it's not animated with a sprite sheet. Instead, I'm animating it by literally rotating the pieces of it. If you look really closely at this grass thing right here, there's no sprite sheet involved. It's just tweening its rotation value slowly over time, and that makes it look like it's an animated piece of grass on the ground, or like this flower here. This flower here is swaying back and forth, but it's not a sprite sheet that's animating it. It's just its rotation slowly moving it back and forth. If you're talking about tiled animations, I can show that real quick. So an example of that would be this. I have this whirlpool. And, you know, in retrospect, I kind of did this in a dumb way. But essentially, all of these tiles are animated. It's probably better if I just talk about the water animation, because the water is animated as well. If I edit the tile sheet, you can go into this animation editor, and you can see on the side, I'm just choosing which frames to apply to the animation. So it's doing this frame, this middle one, then this one, then this one, and then this one, then this one. It's just going down the line and applying each individual frame to the animation cycle, so that in the end, it does like the wavy, watery look to it. This tile export to CSV or JSON. It actually exports to Lua, but it's able to export to lots of different things. If we do export as, it's able to export as XML, CSV, Game Maker Room. Wow, I didn't know you could do that. Game Maker Room file, room.gmx. It can export to JSON, JavaScript, Lua, Godot 4, scene tiles. I didn't know that either. And Game Maker Studio 2. That's really, really cool. So it's compatible with all sorts of stuff, even things that are proprietary like Game Maker and Godot. That's really, really awesome. So in my case, since my game is written in Lua, I export it to Lua and import the Lua file. And chat above my head is delayed and annoys you. If you refresh, it helps a little bit, but there's always going to be a delay. Some people, it's more than others. Some people, it's like 5 seconds. I think that's pretty typical. Some people, it's like 15 seconds. If you're up to like a minute delay, then you should refresh and hopefully it'll be fixed. But yeah, there's with streaming, I've done my best to make YouTube streams a little bit less latent, but I don't know how to do that. There's always going to be like 4 or 5 seconds of latency. I think that's okay. If it's longer than that, then I start to get annoyed too. I'm with you. It is really frustrating when you're like watching a stream and then you type something and then you have to wait for like a minute before your chat shows up. That's so obnoxious. Big whirlpool and One Piece reference, an underwater area. So it's funny you say that, because like the whirlpool isn't meant to be a reference, but I put it at the end of a dock. And it reminds me of, there's a whirlpool in RuneScape where you can jump into the whirlpool, and that's kind of what I was thinking of. But there is an underground section. There's a whole series of maps that are below these maps, and the idea is that you'll be able to go through the whirlpool to go under there. You're the only Love to Be expert I can talk with, because there are not a lot of tutorials. Yeah, I would say that in general there's not too much content out there specifically on Love to Be, but a lot of the content for other game frameworks, like working with a framework in general, that's where a lot of the challenge comes in, because working with an engine is kind of easier to pick up on, but a framework where you just have a big wall of text and code, and you have to figure out what third-party software you need, what open source libraries you need, it is a big challenge, like getting started with all that stuff. Godzilla reference, maybe? That makes sense too. It's delayed from the stream itself. Oh, you know what? I think you're right. Backstory and False Whirlpool. That's the exact one. I think there is a delay between the YouTube chat and the one that's displayed. That is kind of annoying. The latency is just an API thing, since there are thousands of streams happening right now and there are thousands of chat messages. Yeah, except the other thing, though, is that the chat above my head is displayed using a program called Sheep Chat. So Sheep Chat is running and it's monitoring my chat, and when it sees a change, whenever it sees a new message, then it has to update its servers and display them on my stream. So there is kind of like a disconnect there where there probably will be some time between when the YouTube chat displays it and when Sheep Chat is actually able to pick up on that change and display it above my head. There's a lot that goes into this that I am still learning about. Excuse me. Got about 5 more minutes left of stream. I think for the last 5 minutes, I'm just going to go ahead and put in all of the walls, because that's the last big thing I need to do for this map. So when I put in the walls, all I'm doing is I'm putting in any place that the player can't walk through. So that includes all of these. And it never has to be perfect, it just has to be eyeballed so that you can't clip out of bounds. That's the only thing that I need to worry about. All this Deltarune music. I added a lot more Deltarune music to the playlist since I bought the soundtrack and I edited a bunch of high quality mixes for the stream. The only best option is to use other monitor open to default YouTube messages pop up. Even that is not good enough because there needs to be some program that displays the messages. And the default YouTube display is a moderator view. I can't show that one on stream, or I shouldn't, because it shows messages that are like being flagged. It shows messages that are in review. And I can't just show that one. So maybe YouTube has a built-in like chat display that's for streams. That would be better, because then there wouldn't be the latency between that and Sheep Chat. Because right now there's a delay between Sheep Chat and YouTube. That's what I think people are seeing, and I agree that's something I should try to fix. Is this game a story game? I wouldn't say it's a story game, but it does have a story. It's just I'm not finalizing any of the story right now. I'm waiting until the game is in a good, solid place, and then putting a story around that. Because I found that when you have a story written, and then you try to make a game around the story, you have to make some gameplay compromises in order to make it work. When it should be the opposite. It should be you have perfect gameplay, no compromises, and then you have a great story that fits that scenario. Because it's easier to adapt a story to fit a game than it is to fit a game around a story, because the game mechanics have to be good and tight and solid. And if you're changing those mechanics just for the sake of the story, I would say that's not really the best choice. So this is, again, just more walls, making sure people can't clip out of bounds in these sections up here. Man, this song makes me flash back to 2020. Gives me pandemic vibes. No, this one needs to go down a little bit more. It's been a great stream, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to be signing off in just a couple minutes. I'm going to finish up these walls, and then we'll call it good. The other thing about productivity is that while I'm chatting and talking with chat, that's when the content is at its best, but that's also when I'm at my least productive. Because if I'm talking about something, then I'm not actively working on something, and that is kind of a problem. Working on things like this was a great thing for me to work on during stream, because this was pretty mindless. I was able to go through this entire map in the 2 hours. It worked out pretty nicely. So overall, I'd say that this was a productive stream, more than normal. I was able to get all of these objects placed in, which is super good. I could probably put in a few more actually around here. You've been on the entire stream? Yeah, I appreciate you being here. And on that note, I think I'm going to call it quits. It's been a very, very good one. Thank you so much to everyone for being here. I will be back yet again next week for another Moonshire Monday. Don't forget to miss it, or don't miss it. Don't forget. I'm excited to see you all there again for next week's stream, and I will see you there next time. Bye, everyone.